Greetings and bienvenue, Midnight Crew. Thank you for returning to this broadcast, and welcome to new viewers joining us for the first time. If you like a video, then feel free to subscribe.
Schizo thought I suddenly woke up with. The elites, or whatever other entities they are forcing people in the large cities with economical and social restraints, becoming increasingly untenable to live in the countryside, because a large amount of the world population is about to die or is already dead, and the vast majority of land mass on Earth will be unavailable to the public, essentially creating a slave society of people living in crammed cities, while the land mass at large will be completely off limits, with enforced denied access. You can already see it with cities becoming incredibly crammed and crowded to the point where there are hundreds and thousands of people living on top of another, while literally a stone's throw away from the big city, there are entire smaller towns and villages completely and utterly abandoned and empty. Hundreds of empty houses and hundreds of square kilometers just a stone's throw away, while everyone else is literally living, eating, and sleeping one on top of another. The wilderness, meaning just the space in between big cities, will become off-limits with huge penalties for anyone trying to escape the big cities to live in the outskirts. This plan can't be set in motion with 8 billion eaters. It all ties together to instill the absolute authoritative technocratic state to come. It was 5 years ago that scientists of the world told us we had used over 50% of the available land area, and that even if we all stopped having kids right now, there is no longer enough space for the animal kingdom to recover. That's scary. So the issue isn't the environment or scrubbing technology or population engineering, it's space. There are traditional solutions to space that we can utilize here, but it scares the shit out of people, and this direction is not for the faint of heart, because it will reshape the entire planet forever. When people need space, we take the footprint of what we were working with and begin stacking it on top of itself. We build up. But in order to stack more space, we need bigger tiles. Skyscrapers are already very large buildings, and there is almost no feasible way to make them larger. The current size already makes water distribution, personnel foot traffic, even wastewater and firefighting becomes complicated in supersized buildings. The solution to this is to create more land for more buildings, instead of making one giant building the size of a state. The megacity decks are the solution to this problem, providing real earthen decks with land that can be settled. All design concerns have been dealt with. The real problem is how psychologically threatened people feel about this development. You can attack this idea from all sides, and it will stand tall, I assure you. And as well, the solutions are out of this world. The best thing about it, however, is that the creation of the first megacity deck itself will completely change the entire world and center the world economy around itself. The amount of raw opportunity in the megacity cannot be overstated, because construction and investment subsidies ensure that companies will fight to bid on the contracts to build the greatest structure since the pyramids. Entirely new fields of science will have to be disclosed to the average person just to help them cope with the fact that there are no material science barriers to creating materials of near infinite strength, and there will be no limitation to deck span and ceiling elevation. The fact that the power generation system makes fresh water as a byproduct will also ensure that as many civilians as possible will move to the megacity to claim land on the decks and settle it for themselves, completely circumventing the gambit of buying into real estate. Fear of hydraulic despotism is unwarranted. You want to give the water away for free in order to attract as many people and businesses to the megacity as possible. Each deck will be diverse, and so the decks between themselves. Different crops will grow under different angles of light and elevation. Higher decks, once built, will have better views and command higher rent once settled and built out. The lower levels will be more suitable for conservation efforts, acting as a land bridge where the footprint of the first deck resides. Each deck will be a self-sufficient city-state, complete with its own localized emergency response systems, etc. No attack on the government or status quo or powers that be is necessary, because each nation's existing typology for creating townships, localities and municipalities, states and provinces, will completely apply to the megacity, as well as state and federal law. If megacities want representation and statehood, they can apply for it, like Northern California. As the population of consumers is drawn off the land and into the megacities, the rural people who want to stay on God's earth and only visit the megacity for the Olympics will enjoy lowered population density, lowered pollution, and a restoration of animal habitats and corridors. As people who disagree with each other move away, the remaining voters will have a more proportionate voice. This takes consumer-class citizens and puts them in a metropolis that affords them every luxury. Do you want government benefits? We got government benefits. You want security? A base for every branch of the military on every deck. The more problems you throw at the idea, the more it morphs around them and creates more zeal, more growth, more freedom, more potential. Bioprocessing and nanoprocessing facilities ensure that each megacity deck is entirely self-sufficient. Barring contributions from automation, this process requires no imports once sufficient manpower is in place. The only real consumables, fresh air and water, can be rectified using these facilities. The secret to progressing these technologies to the point where we create supermaterials actually involves a secret that I wouldn't give away here. However, even if you knew what to do with nanotechnology to make it past and into what is beyond it, you would still have to get the source material from somewhere. Existing nanotechnology doesn't print out of thin air. You need a reservoir of atoms to begin stacking. Post-nanotechnology uses existing nanotechnology to create radioactive nanotextile catalysts, which are subjected to extremely specific conditions in order to secrete the building blocks for free. Yes, you read that right. Push a button, print molecularly perfect steel for free. Having the secret to this process technology allows a breakaway civilization to happen, because we no longer need to cut down trees for lumber, mine the earth for ore. We can synthesize everything we need. The cost of doing all of this is 100% meaningless, because the process technology in question has already been proofed, and there is nothing you can do about it. The team we are looking to build will be able to print composites out of subatomic particles, composites which are non-atomic, and therefore have literally incalculable properties, and which cannot be dissolved. No one else can manufacture these composites, or design them, or build the machines for them. Animal rights activists have already pointed out that we keep a lot of these animals, billions of them, stacked up on top of each other in cages so small their legs stick out. It's like a homeless pig wearing a cardboard box for clothes, but it's a metal cage, packed tight in an endless hamstrung abyss. If that's how we are going to treat them, like shit, then why can't we take all that bull and stack it up on top of itself? We can use both agriculture and livestock to prove the megacity construction process and get it established. The world is already fighting over food, and honestly, even pitching this idea to a Chinese megafarm corporation would get it built in 10 years. We can do better than that, under budget and ahead of schedule where it counts. The same materials science will allow for hypertransport projects, such as high-speed rail between megacities. As we use less and less roads, we will save lots of land for the biome, just from taking commerce off the land, let alone the people and animals. As the conservation of land increases by orders of magnitudes, until the whole nation is a wildlife preserve, and we begin creating rainforests in earnest, the job sectors related to conservation will grow exponentially. We will need biologists, wildlife experts, botanists, rangers. Within just a few years, locally, the forest around the megacity could easily become wild, and these habitats will need to be scientifically managed into the future, even passively, in the same way we manage these habitats now. The first civilian megacity will be called Rome, and it will be shaped like a star fort. Those are my only two conditions as the sole designer and owner of the pseudo-gap nanocatalyst process technology. Science, however, will not stop with the advent of megacities. Instead, it will continue into the stars as we map out other elemental systems of power, besides solar and electricity and thermal. We will also explore sonic technology, which is already used in submicron machine tooling processes, and plasma modulation, which has the potential to take us into a new epoch of transistor and circuit design by transcending the electrical systems we have today for optical plasma-based transistors with a gap size and frequency combined, which approach luminal speeds, and in the case of specialized pseudo-gap jumping, can actually exceed that boundary into superluminal performance. The distance the flame jumps multiplied by the frequency exceeds c. Combined with sub-nanotechnology, These embedded optical circuits could never be reverse engineered or hacked. The computational capabilities of these future systems are science fiction today. Tomorrow, the exports from the megacities will dominate all commerce. As we expand out into the solar system, having finally breached the technology necessary to do the impossible, we will be able to build megacities in space terrariums and leave the Earth relatively alone, as the cradle it was meant to be.
Surviving in a giant megacity complex fashioned out of a skyscraper where there's like a machine learning and food courts and office space and apartment buildings. Varying degrees of intensity. From rolling through a deserted Walmart grabbing trading cards off the shelves. A lot of hiding, looking for a place to hide in a crisis, usually running between apartments. Being alone. Looking for my girlfriend, finding her, not liking what I find. Multiple dreams of drills, like people swarming a house looking for you and you have to hide perfectly. Almost like a training drill. Dreams where zombie-like things enclose in a location but I'm able to hide. A progression in dreams since last summer. First dream that felt like it was in the series happened on its own some years ago. Saw a girl standing as a silhouette with a rifle at the top of a bunch of rubble with a blowout square that used to be the side of a building in front of her. I don't know, maybe the future, maybe my delusions. Reality slips back and forth, now nothing is real and everything is.
The other large users of land are agriculture and livestock. We use 377 million acres to grow food in the US alone, 16% of the land. An agricultural tower, 1 acre beam span with many decks, could take all of a state's farms and put them in one lot. People think we don't have the material science for this, but we do, and this is another uncomfortable conversation, and that's literally the reason we aren't building it right now. Do not ever let anyone lie to you about it. We have these materials today, and the process can be explained. If you withstand the dialectic, they freak out, and that can't be helped. Process engineers are not your therapist. The other large use of land is for livestock. Globally, 26% of land is used for livestock, and 33% of the farmland we mentioned earlier is used just to develop grains for animal feeds. Either the animals go where the farms go, or we go. You get to decide. However, if you wait, eventually a bank with trillions in assets will build a megacity tower and control who gets to live there. The issue is that the technology for producing these metamaterials creates clean, potable water as a byproduct. Therefore, the construction site of the megacity and its workshop for sustainability will create a hydraulic breakaway civilization. The water would be free inside the megacity, which I suppose becomes a hydraulic despotism to those who refuse to leave the animals alone. You can leave now and join the construction team, or you can stay on the ground. Once it's built, a domestic megacity deck will have land available to settle, something no one else in the world will claim. Commercial agents will get special tax breaks for opening chains on plaza decks, and the world's most advanced technology will be available in the megacities first. Rock stars will tour in megacities first. SpaceX will launch from megacities. Everyone will be there with clean energy and free food. The question is, where will you be?
There are many LARPers among us who wish to use a trip and edgy name to make themselves seem cool and big. I will tell you now that I can see into the future without any doubt. There are 2 futures for humanity. In the coming years, much energy will be focused, and we will enter only one. Timeline 1. The American Civil War starts before 2040, and after 2025. The world economy collapses. The world returns to various states of anarchy and monarchy, one rising to rule indefinitely over Greater North America. The world population plummets dramatically to only 100,000 within 250 years, and world peace is achieved through borders never meeting, instead giant stretches of wilderness and wasteland dividing them. Free, infinite power is devised before 2500, and Earth enters the golden space age by 2750, finally making it possible to colonize other planets. Within multiple millennia, humanity shapes an untold number of empires in the stars. Timeline 2, the world holds together by a thread up until 2050, when all society and government falls except for a few elites, namely the rich, the powerful, and the occult, as was previously mentioned. These elites would rise from the ashes of the anarchy-fueled world, taking it over, and making a one-world government. From here, infinite energy solutions are revealed rather quickly, being taken from Tesla and hidden until now. The Earth enters a Chinese-style social system amped up to 10, everyone working on a virtually monitored societal credit as to appease the rich who profit from them. In due time, the Earth's sun is literally blocked out by nanotechnology as part of the now practically religious cult formed around science and climate change. Within 100 years, 2/3 of humanity is gone, and the remaining live in cold, super dense, super corrupt megacities within Asia. Population lowers, population density rises. Imagine New York City with 25 million people instead of 8.5 million. From this point, no personal freedom is retained. All farming and construction is managed by robots, and the human population is retained simply as a means to operate society as AI is not advanced enough. All humans will work office-type jobs, solving advanced learning programs. Imagine the CAPTCHA times 1,000 for incredibly long hours, supplemented by pills and caffeine. After however many years, be it 100 to 300, AI will advance far enough to where the elites can totally wipe out humanity except for less than 50,000. They will attempt to use AI as their brains, to make space travel, and to bring them beyond the stars. The AI eventually becomes Rouge, triggering a series of failures, resulting in most technology being lost. From that point forward, all that remains are the few living elites inside of old bunkers, hiding from the cold hell they created. This timeline is the end of humanity.
In order for a society to be free, each and every individual must be capable of governing himself. There are a lot of ways to pervert or misinterpret this statement, so I'm not going to idiot-proof it. I'm simply providing this as a definition of freedom. We'll use for the purposes of my argument. In order for anything like the scenario you described to occur, the populace must either be fully free or fully enslaved. 20 years ago, we were a mosaic of civilizations between 30 and 60 on the freedom scale, with 0 being enslaved and 100 being free. Today, we're more like a mosaic of civilizations between 20 and 40. If we do advance through alien contact, it won't be as free men, and the only way you'll be kicking back in a 0G apartment with alien babes is if you're one of the few upper middle classes or the elite who maintain the control systems. You are likely not one of those now, so you likely will not be one of those in the years to come. You will live in a pod, you will eat bugs, and you will not say anything mean about alien visitors on elite-owned social media, which you must pay to have. You cannot refuse to have social media, and you must pay to use it. It takes time to enslave populations, and there are diminishing returns as you remove even more freedom. It's likely that the 2020s will be a decade of consolidation. The changes of the last 2 decades will be normalized and expanded to create new ways of life in which the most radical ideas were perfectly normal 20 years ago. You will see nothing but the new normal being established this decade. It won't be fun. It won't be interesting. It won't be enjoyable. But it won't be so intolerable you decide to do something about it. If aliens do come, they aren't part of the elite's plans as I understand them, though my understanding could be wrong.
I hope that you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. If you enjoyed tonight's story, then please subscribe to the channel as more green texts will appear daily. A new broadcast will appear when the clock strikes midnight Central Time.
Remember to check out the Odyssey page in the description for a second archive of the channel's videos.
There's also a Rumble archive as a backup.